We're now joined by Dane Brugler of The Athletic. Dane, thanks for joining us, man. We really appreciate it. Is Ty Simpson a generational quarterback?
We're at that stage of the process,
Yeah.
right? We're asking those types of questions. Unfortunately, this year's quarterback class leaves a little bit to be desired. Obviously, we know Fernando Mendoza will be a Las Vegas Raider, and then it's anybody's guess when Ty Simpson comes off the board. Is it going to be in that first round? Will it be somewhere in that early portion of the second round? I don't think we're going to see him free fall, but it's interesting when you sit down and do a mock draft. It's hard to come up with, maybe the Cardinals, maybe the Jets, maybe the Rams, but it's hard to come up with a long list of teams that you think might use a top 50 pick on Ty Simpson. So it'll be interesting. That'll be one of the wild cards of draft night.
Well, the Jets always do stupid things, so you got them in your back pocket if you're looking for a play, right? It's always the Jets picking number 2. They could do something, like Ty Simpson. But to kind of piggyback on what Dusty asked you, Dane, is Fernando Mendoza a generational quarterback?
And I'm not even sure what generational means anymore, because I feel like every year we're kind of talking about that. But all I know is if I'm the Raiders, that's the type of guy you roll the dice on and say, it's not a perfect profile. Looking at if you had to guess, how many 300-yard passing games do you think Fernando Mendoza had this year?
Oh, I don't know, 2.
Yeah, we had 1.
What?
I mean, he doesn't have necessarily the gaudy production, what you think of a number 1 overall pick. It was an offense that's very RPO heavy. They wanted the run game to be a big part of what they did. But when they needed Fernando Mendoza to step up and make a play, he did it every single time. And, you go back to the Big Ten championship game against Ohio State, that there was a 13-10 game. It wasn't a, scoring fest, but there were 5 key plays that Mendoza had to have, and he made all 5. And so you go all the way to the national championship game, what he did against Miami in that game. So, it looks a little bit different than a Caleb Williams or a Drake May. But I think that when you're going to bet on a quarterback, it makes sense to bet on a guy with accuracy, toughness, and the football smarts, and he checks all those boxes.
So what you're saying in a roundabout way is he's played in big games.
And he's shown up in big games,
yeah.
And late in those games. You think about the Penn State game where he threw a second half interception, and they did not look like they had a chance. But final 2 minutes, he drove them down, had that remarkable throw to a remarkable catch by Omar Cooper Jr. in the back of the end zone. So he did it repeatedly when his team needed him.
Dane, we talked about the Chiefs a lot because we're in Kansas City, obviously. And then we saw the report yesterday. I don't know if it was from Jordan Schultz or somebody that says this could be a year where we see just a mass amount of trades in the NFL draft. Where do you kind of have the Chiefs right now? Trading up, trading back, sticking at 9? The floor is yours, man. We're all ears.
I would love to see it. I'm all for more trades because that just makes it fun on draft night. But I don't know. I have a hard time seeing it just because, I think we might see 1 or 2 in the top 10, but I don't think teams are really eager to get rid of those day 2 picks because that's the strength of this draft. It's not the top 10. And there are some good players in the top 10, but the strength of this draft is the depth of the edge rushers in day 2, or the wide receivers, or the safeties, or the linebackers, the tight ends. So in next year's draft looks like a much stronger draft. So I don't think teams are going to be willing to give away the 2027 draft picks to move up in this draft. And so unless teams are taking maybe a little bit more of a discount to move back, I'm not totally sold that we're going to see a ton of trades, but I do think there's a chance we could see a few, whether it's like the Cowboys at 12 looking to package some of those picks to get up into the top 10 for a defender. The Chiefs are an interesting spot. I think that, just looking at their needs, you think probably maybe either an edge rusher, maybe a wide receiver there at 9. And so, the top 3 pass rushers, Arvell Reese, Reuben Bain, and Bailey are one of those 3 still left for them at number 9. Is their top receiver still on the board as a possibility? So I think, obviously the Chiefs aren't used to picking top 10, but now at number 9, they'll be sweating out those first 8 picks a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. And I'm all about trading back if I'm the Chiefs because I think they have more holes than people want to give them credit for. And the more picks that you can get, especially with the salary cap
Mm-hmm.
situation and the financial situation that they're in, I think they're going to want more picks and value those picks because that's where they're going to be able to grow their roster.
Oh, no question. But I think there's a lot of teams that are thinking that way too, where, give me more second rounders, give me more third rounders, where I can really fill out my roster with quality players, maybe guys that won't be Pro Bowlers, but they'll be solid starters, and I'm not going to have to pay them $10 million a year. And so I think that the Chiefs, and then there's several other teams that are kind of in that boat where, they're kind of cash strapped, and the idea of getting more draft picks has to be an appealing part of what their draft plan looks like.
We were talking to Dane Brugler here of The Athletic. If you want to find his stuff, he's got his draft guide at The Beast. It's available exclusively on The Athletic. Fans can head there to The Athletic website to access all 2,000 plus prospects, rankings, and 400 plus deep dive player profiles as well. Who's the sneaky team in the first round, Dane?
Sneaky team. I referenced the Cowboys earlier. I think they are, and they have obviously 2 first-round picks at 12 and 20. So they've got a little bit of ammunition if they want to do something, if they want to move up into the top 5, top 6. And so I think they are really interesting just because they feels like they are not like one player away, but they might think they're one player away and have a chance to, okay, if we go make a splash and we go get Sonny Styles, we go get Caleb Downs, whoever it may be, we might be that much closer to getting over the hump and getting where we need to go. Dak Prescott's not getting any younger, and you look at that roster, and I don't think they're going to sign Pickens long term. And so you got this year, maybe if you franchise them again, you got one more year. So it's you got to figure that part out. So it just feels like their window is kind of right now. And so if they make a little bit of a splash to go up and get somebody that they feel gets them to that next level, that next tier of where they want to be in the NFC, I think that could be something we end up seeing Thursday night.
You mentioned Pickens and then maybe not signing him to a long-term deal. The Chiefs kind of started that trend with Tyreek Hill. Are we starting to see now more and more in the NFL of teams looking, hey, we got to hit on wide receivers in the draft and keep them for 4 or 5 years because the cost of investing and going out and getting a wide receiver is just too much? It's off the charts now?
That's if you're not 100%, and a guy like Pickens who has a volatile past, and there's question marks around him. He's super talented. You want him on your team, but there's a difference between having him for what they're currently having him as on the franchise tag compared to a long-term deal where you've got a lot of money invested in him because he's going to want $40 million plus a year. Mm-hmm. That's a lot to invest into a player. And the Chiefs are going to be kind of in that same type of deal with Rashee Rice coming up here pretty soon, where they're going to have to make a decision about, all right, how do we dance around this? Where he's had his issues in the past, and who knows what the future is going to bring? How much do we feel comfortable investing in the player? Or we can look forward to the draft and say, all right, this is where, and that's why we're going to see 17, 18 receivers going to top 100. When you have Alec Pierce, and no disrespect to Alec Pierce, but when you have him getting as much money as he did this offseason, you have a chance to potentially upgrade on a second-round contract with some of these guys. I think that's where a lot of teams are going to look.
Last one for you here. Jeremiah Love, where do you think he goes, and what is he still that prized running back for a team in the future?
Yeah, no doubt. I think either 4, 5, or 7. You look at the Titans at 4, the Giants at 5, the Commanders at 7. I don't think he gets past all 3 teams. And the Titans, I think that you look at where they are in their build. They want to help the quarterback. Robert Saleh he spent the last year in San Francisco. He saw firsthand what a dynamic running back who can also catch the ball like Christian McCaffrey means to that offense and to the quarterback. And the chance to add someone like that in the draft, like Love, I think would make sense for Saleh. The Giants, they're looking to get more explosive. This is a Harbaugh pick, and which makes it really wide open because, John Harbaugh is not an offensive guy. He's not a defensive guy. He's more of that CEO head coach.
Mm-hmm.
And so, he could go safety, could go with a running back. I think there's a lot of different ways the Giants could go, but I don't see him getting past the Commanders. Chance to pair him in the backfield with Jaden Daniels, force defenses to really game plan against those two guys. That would be a tough ask and something that Commanders are looking to get more explosive on offense.
Is there a player out there that's kind of a sneaky player that you love that maybe nobody's talking about, but you're like, this is going to be a guy that's going to dominate in the league?
Yeah, who's the Puka?
Yeah, if I knew the Puka, I'd be I headed to Vegas right now. I mean, look, Chris Johnson's the corner from San Diego State. I don't want to say like no one's talking about him because I think the secret's out finally. But he's been one of my favorite players in the draft since September, watching him at San Diego State and getting to know him better. I think he ends up somewhere in the first round. I think he's a top 25 player in this draft. And then, Chase Besantis, the guard from Texas A&M, I think he's going on day one. I see him pop up at 50 in mock drafts. And look, I think by the end of Thursday night, I think his name will be called off the board because of just the versatility he brings, the toughness, how strong he is at the point, the way he finishes. I think teams are going to really like – I know teams really like what he brings, and someone's going to snatch him up before the end of the first.
All right, last one. Call your shot. Chiefs take who at pick 9?
I'll stick with Ruben Bain. I think he fits their profile with what they want as an edge rusher. We know that he, kind of want to get better at that area. I think it'd be tougher if Carnell Tate's on the board. It makes it maybe a tougher decision. But Ruben Bain, I think, makes sense for this team.